Hello, and welcome to a Path Less Travelled UK City of London tour. My name is Marcy, and as with all of my walking guides, the aim of this tour is to make travelling between points of interest more interesting. For the main attractions, please make full use of the guides at the sites to get the most of your visit. Before proceeding, please ensure you have listened to the introduction on YouTube or on the Path Less Travelled UK Facebook or Instagram pages. This will give you all the relevant information, such as important safety notices, as you are responsible for your well-being at all times on these tours. Also, don't listen to the commentary while walking. Please keep alert of your surroundings and find a safe spot to stop and listen. The next two photos are from Google Maps, giving an overview of the area we're covering. There are also detailed maps within each section of commentary to assist you in finding your way around. The whole tour takes approximately an hour, not accounting for stopping at the sites. I also want to warn you that this is quite a long walk, epic some may say, so if you want to do it over 2 days, stopping at Tower Hill or just after the HMS Belfast, I seriously wouldn't blame you. Details will be given at the time, where to catch an underground train, if you do feel the need to stop. You also want to start this tour as early as possible, as you can easily spend 3 hours just in the Tower of London. Now, assuming you're up to speed with the general premise of these self-guided walking tours, let's begin. Today's tour starts at Liverpool Street Station and ends at London Bridge Station. On the way, we will be taking in the Monument to the Great Fire of London, the Tower of London, Tower Bridge, Southwark Cathedral, and Borough Market, among many others. If you are doing this tour on a Sunday, please check for the service times at Southwark Cathedral so you can attend or avoid accordingly. It is Church of England, so Protestant in faith. Also note that Borough Market is closed on Mondays. Liverpool Street Station in East London is on the Circle, Hammersmith and City, and Metropolitan lines, as well as being a mainline network rail station serving Essex, Suffolk, and Norfolk counties. However you arrive at the station, make your way onto the main concourse pictured and walk towards the escalators opposite platforms 11 to 17. Go up the escalators and turn right onto Bishopsgate, the street running outside the station. It is normally very busy, so please be extra cautious with your belongings in this area. Crossing Liverpool Street, continue down a short way until you reach St. Bartolph's without Bishopsgate Church. Just past the church, you will see a gate leading into a small churchyard. Pause commentary until you enter the churchyard and find a safe place to stop. It is believed that this has been a site of worship since the Roman period in approximately 200 CE. CE stands for Common Era, and it's the new way of saying AD. They discovered in the foundations a Saxon church which would have been over 1,000 years old when the current building was constructed in 1729. For any poetry fans, John Keats was baptized in the present font in 1795. St. Bartolph's is actually a trendsetter, as they were the first to convert their burial grounds into a public green space, which caused quite a stir at the time. Please make your way next along the path exiting out the back of the churchyard until you reach a square with a quaint tiled building in the centre of it. Pause commentary until you reach there. I feel we take modern plumbing for granted a lot of the time, so I'd like to share this beautiful reminder that it wasn't so long ago, the late 1800s in this case, that having a pool or even a plumbed bathtub was an extreme luxury. The Victorian bathhouse is now an events venue that can take up to 60 people in its underground chambers, but it has lost none of its external charm. When you have finished at the bathhouse, make your way back to the gate that you entered the churchyard through, stopping just inside of it. If you wish to pop into the church and admire its lovely interior, now is the time to do so. Pause commentary until you are ready to proceed from the gate. Please turn right onto Bishopsgate from the grounds and walk until you reach the intersection with Wormwood Street. Continue down Bishopsgate when safe to do so, looking out for a tiny church front nestled between two skyscrapers on the opposite side of Bishopsgate. Pause commentary until you reach there. This is St. Ethelburga's venue. I like to point it out as it perfectly sums up the diverse architecture in the city. The body of the church was originally built in 1411, with the ball turret added in 1775. The building was severely damaged by an IRA bomb in 1993, but was restored, and they took the opportunity to turn a horrific event into a positive outcome by making it a centre for reconciliation and peace. Please take the next pedestrian crossing over Bishopsgate, and you should be in front of a building called Horizon 22. Go to the second set of entrance doors a bit further up the street. In 2023, they opened the highest free viewing platform in London. The platform in the Shard on the south bank of the Thames is higher, being the tallest building in the UK, but it isn't free, which is why I've left it out of this tour. Horizon 22 can be booked up far in advance online, though they do release spots on the day, so as long as you're there between 10 a.m. and noon, you should be able to get a slot to go up. If you've come later, it's still worth asking. You'll need access to a QR reader to book your free ticket before entering. Wait for the confirmation email and show that to enter. Allow at least half an hour for your visit to take in the stunning views. Please pause commentary until you have finished at Horizon 22, or stay just outside the building on Bishopsgate to listen to the next section. When exiting Horizon 22, you'll enter Crosby Square. Turn immediately right and follow the tunnel back to the entrance at Bishopsgate. Pause briefly to look across the road. The impressive building in front of you was the National Provincial Bank of England and was designed by John Gibson in about 1865. It stands on the corner of Threadneedle Street, whose name is believed to be derived from a sign of 3 needles that stood here. The street appropriately houses the Merchant Tailors Company, which is one of the 12 great livery companies in the city. A livery company is a descendant of the medieval trade guilds. They now tend to focus on education and charity work. Please turn left and continue down Bishopsgate again. At the first crossing you come to, Leadenhall Street, briefly look to the right down Corn Hill. If you look at the third building in with the terracotta-coloured upper stories, you will see a couple of handsome gargoyles looking out. When safe to do so, cross Leadenhall Street and continue straight, and very quickly on the left you will see Leadenhall Market. Probably easier to look out for the New Moon pub to spot the entrance to the street. Make your way into the market, stopping at the crossroads within it. Pause commentary until you reach there. Leadenhall Market may now be a beautiful arcade of 19th century shops, but its history is much more varied. It was once the heart of Roman Londinium, and the remains of a forum are under the cobblestone streets. In fact, Bishopsgate and Leadenhall Street follow old Roman roads. Back to the market, though. In 1411, Dick Whittington gifted the land to the City of London Corporation, who have been in charge of it ever since. For centuries, it was a successful market trading in meat, fish, and grain. By the 1600s, this expanded to cheese, wool, and leather. In the 1900s, however, the unruly market didn't rub shoulders too well with the flourishing financial district in the city, so it was redesigned by Sir Horace Jones to what you can see today. You can easily see why the market was used in the film Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone for any Americans listening, as the exterior to the Leaky Cauldron pub. It also made an appearance in Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. If you look out at the end of the covered portion of the market, you will see the Lloyd's of London building. This is the centre of the insurance industry. The reason I want to draw your attention to this modern piece of architecture, built in 1978, is to point out the pod-like rooms running up and down the sides of the building. These are, in fact, the lavatories. Next, I ask you to please make your way out of Leadenhall Market the way you entered and turn left. Bishopsgate became Gracechurch Street when you crossed Leadenhall Street, but it's still the same road marked the A10 on the map. Go straight down until you reach Eastcheap. Turn left, and a short distance on the left you will find Philpot Lane. Turn left into the lane, staying on the left-hand side, and stop when you're about 15 metres or yards into the lane. Once stopped, look at the opposite side of the street and slightly up. Pause commentary until you reach there. Have you spotted it yet? The charming sculpture of the 2 mice fighting over a chunk of cheese on the side of the building? While you look, I'll tell you that little is known as to when or why this sculpture appeared, though it must have been after 1862 when the building was constructed. A sad tale has been attributed to the sculpture, saying it commemorates the deaths of 2 construction workers squabbling over a cheese sandwich, but there is no evidence to support this. I personally think someone just wanted to bring a little smile to passers-by, and I applaud them for that. You are now going to return to the corner of Gracechurch Street and East Cheap that you just turned at. This time, you are going to cross at the traffic lights and go down Fish Street Hill towards the large pillar that you no doubt spotted on your way down. Pause commentary until you are at the base of the pillar. You are now looking at the monument to the Great Fire of London. The fire started on the 2nd of September 1666 and burned for 4 days. It destroyed 13,200 homes, 87 churches, and the old St. Paul's Cathedral. This accounted for about a third of the city at the time. Remarkably, only 6 people were recorded to have died as a direct result of the fire, though that may be because the remains were not found for the others. Of course, regardless of the number, it was still tragic, but could have been much worse given that there was no fire service at the time. The fire started at Thomas Ferringer's bakery in Pudding Lane. A long dry summer gave the ideal conditions for the fire to spread, bearing in mind many houses would have had thatch roofs and be timbered framed. The fire was eventually stopped by a combination of a drop in the strong east wind and the Tower of London garrison creating fire breaks using gunpowder. The monument was designed by Sir Christopher Wren and Dr. Robert Hooke and was finished in 1677. Incidentally, Wren also designed the church Magnus the Martyr that you can see at the end of the street. They were unable to position the pillar in Pudding Lane, so instead the top of its 202-foot height, or 61 meters, symbolizes the point where the fire started, if the pillar was to be laid eastward from this spot. If you would like to climb the monument to enjoy the views, please pause the commentary now, but be warned it is 311 steps up a spiral staircase. If you prefer to save your legs for the considerable walk in front of you, or you have finished your visit, please listen to the next section carefully, as this is a real treat in my humble opinion. Go back up Fish Hill Street and turn right onto East Cheap. Follow the road as it becomes Great Tower Street, and a short way down, turn right onto a narrow street called Idle Lane. You will soon come upon a church steeple on the left. Go through the gate to the left of that and enter the church nave. Pause commentary until you reach there. You are now in St. Dunstan's in the east, and as you make your way around the garden, you will hopefully understand why I brought you here. The church was originally built in 1100 with later additions. It was badly damaged in the Great Fire, and while repairing it, Sir Christopher Wren's design for the steeple was added. By 1817, it was found that the weight of the roof had splayed the walls so severely that the church had to be rebuilt, though they kept Wren's Tower. The new church was opened in 1821. What you see today is a result of Blitz damage in World War II. The Anglican Church decided not to rebuild, and the City of London Corporation turned it into a public park, which was opened in 1971. It's a popular lunch spot for workers in the city, as you can imagine. Once you have walked through the garden to the opposite side you entered, take the steps down to St. Dunstan's Hill. Turn left and go back up to Great Tower Street. Turn right and follow the road down, past the hung, drawn and quartered pub at the end, and cross Byward Street. Head for the church to your left, All Hallows by the Tower. On the way, pause to look at the Malta Memorial. Pause commentary until you are at the entrance to the church on the right-hand side off the pedestrian area. All Hallows by the Tower was originally founded in 675 CE. Though it survived the Great Fire, it was badly damaged in World War II. Following reconstruction, it opened again in 1957. During repairs, it was discovered that parts of the church had reused Roman tiles in the construction, which was common practice in the 7th to 11th centuries. Indeed, the crypt of the church has a wealth of Roman artifacts, including a Roman pavement. Worth checking out, even if churches aren't your thing. Also, keep an eye out for the font cover carved in 1682 by Grinling Gibbons, great name, which is considered one of the finest carvings in London. It takes about 30 minutes to see it all. Pause commentary until you have finished your tour of the church and are back outside the entrance. Now please make your way to the left when exiting the church. You will soon get your first look at the Tower of London past the low grey buildings in front of you at the end of the pedestrian area. I'm going to be a bit of a tease though, and first direct you to the right along Petty Wales until you reach a small cylindrical brick structure. Pause commentary until you reach there. Before the striking Tower Bridge was built, which only dates from the late Victorian period, people still needed a safe way to cross the river in this area and didn't always want to use a boat. In comes the Tower Subway Tunnel. Opened in 1869, this 410-metre, that's 1,340-foot long, cylindrical tunnel was lined with cast iron. It originally had a wooden carriage on a cable to bring passengers across, but it was converted to a foot tunnel shortly after. Over 1 million people a year used it, paying a halfpenny for the privilege. After Tower Bridge opened toll-free in 1894, the tunnel lost popularity and closed in 1898. It is now used for water mains and telecommunication cables. The reason it is significant is the same method used to construct the Iron Shield Tunnel for this subway was used to create the first underground train tunnels in London, the mother of the Underground network. Now turn and take in the Tower of London. Go up to the railings so you can see the dry moat. Recently they have been planting it with wildflowers in the summer, and the curtain wall. Pause commentary until you are at the moat edge. Though called the Tower, it is actually a collection of buildings, many reflecting different time periods, as there has been some sort of fortification here since at least 1066, when William the Conqueror became king. But now we have our first loop for the day. For those of you who love Roman history like I do, the best preserved piece of wall that used to surround the square mile of Londinium is just down the path on the left and up some stairs. If interested, follow the pavement, that's sidewalk for our North American friends, until you reach a decorated underpass on the left. Go through and up the stairs in front of you, about halfway up. You'll see an opening on the right with a bronze statue of a Roman emperor. Pause commentary, or keep listening if you choose to skip this portion of the tour. Incidentally, this takes you to the entrance of Tower Hill Underground Station, so if you find after going around the tower you are touristed out for the day, you can pause the commentary and pick up the rest of the tour another time. Building of the London Wall started in about 200 CE and was 4 kilometres long, 6 metres high, and 2 to 2.6 metres across. That's roughly 2.5 miles by 19 feet by 8 foot. At 134 hectares, it was the largest enclosed urban area in Roman Britain. After the Romans left in 410, it fell into disrepair, though efforts were made to repair it by Alfred the Great after 886. By the 18th century, the wall was considered obsolete and large sections were demolished. Only after World War II have the remaining sections become scheduled monuments. The statue represents Emperor Trajan, who ruled the Roman Empire from 98 to 117 CE. It is a cast of a late 1st century statue which is on display at the National Archaeological Museum in Naples, Italy. Once finished with the Roman wall, please return to the ticket office near where you started this loop of the tour. If you wish to go to the Tower of London, and as it's the #1 tourist attraction, I'm assuming the answer is yes, and have not purchased your tickets online, which I recommend to avoid the queues, or taken out a Historic Palaces membership, please purchase your tickets before listening to the next section of the tour. Allow approximately 2 to 3 hours for your visit. Pause commentary until you reach there. Proceed through the gates to the far left of the large tower gift shop to enter the site. If not immediately obvious, ask the attendants where to wait for the Beefeater tour, which I recommend if this is your first visit. You can only gain access to the church where Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, 2 of Henry VIII's queens, are buried on this guided tour. They are very entertaining in the whole, and included in your ticket price. Beefeater, by the way, is a nickname for the yeoman warders, who are retired military personnel who act as ceremonial guardians to the tower. While you may chat to and ask to take photos with them, please do not do so with the guards outside the jewel house. These are working military personnel, and I ask that you respect them and any police when visiting these sites. If for any reason you don't take the tour, I suggest picking up a guidebook at least to get the most out of your visit. I always head for the jewel house on the far side of the complex first, and then work my way back, as that tends to get the longest queues later in the day in my experience. The wall walk after Edward I's apartments gives great photo opportunities at the grounds. Please pause the commentary when you are in the grounds about to enter the White Tower. That's the large castle in the centre of the complex. The thing I would like to draw your attention to is the staircase to the White Tower entrance. Halfway up, you will see an opening off the landing with a sign giving details about the princes in the tower. Most of you will have heard of their uncle, Richard III, whose body was found under a car park and reburied at Leicester Cathedral in 2015. When Richard's brother, Edward IV, died, his teenage son, Edward V, became king in April 1483. Richard was appointed regent until Edward V came of age. Edward and his younger brother, Richard, Duke of York, were brought to the tower allegedly for their protection by their uncle. Richard III claimed the throne for himself after just 2 months, stating the boys were illegitimate. They disappeared from public view by the autumn and were never seen again. There has been research done recently suggesting that one or both of the princes may have escaped to Europe, and the romantic in me seriously hopes that is the case. However, the remains of 2 young people were found near this spot and are interred in an urn in Innocents' Corner at Westminster Abbey, just past the tomb of Elizabeth I. Though at the time of recording it has not been scientifically proven to be the princes, I think whatever happened to have these 2 children buried in a stairwell makes them worthy of their grand interment at the Abbey. I could go on about the history of the tower all day, but as there are a wealth of displays and guides to help you get the most out of your visit, I'll leave it at that. I truly hope you enjoy exploring the site. When ready to move on, you can leave the way you came in if you wish to check out the gift shop, or by the side exit to the river if you want to save a few steps. Pause commentary until you are at the riverside with a good view of Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge, which is mistakenly called London Bridge by millions, was completed in 1894. The neo-Gothic design was favoured to blend in with the Tower of London. It was the largest bascule bridge, that's a bridge that swings open to allow boats to pass under it with the help of a counterweight, built up to that point and ran on steam power until 1976. Once you have taken your photos, make your way along the river to the archway under the bridge, ensuring that you use the pedestrian part of the underpass on the left. From just on the opposite side of the arch, we have the second loop of today's tour. We are briefly taking in St. Catherine's Dock and have a nice photo opportunity with a classic red phone box and a dolphin sculpture. Lovely pub too. If you wish to bypass these, please stay in a safe place near the staircase going up to the road going over the bridge. In other words, the stairs immediately to your right once you go through the arch, and carefully cross the street you were just walking along. Do not use the stairs on the left or you will be on the wrong side of the bridge. If you are taking part, carefully cross the road in front of you and head slightly left into St. Catherine's Dock. Follow the path as straight as you can possibly go until you see a multi-story pub called the Dickens Inn. Pause commentary until you've reached there. The Dickens Inn was originally a warehouse built in the early 1700s. It had to be moved 70 metres, or 230 feet east, to make way for a housing development. It was converted by Cedric Dickens, grandson of the author Charles Dickens, in 1976. That was when the timbers and ironwork were reused to form the 3-balconied inn that you see today. I just think it's one of the prettiest pubs in London and wanted to share it with you. Just outside of it, you will find a red phone box with a red pillar post box nearby. Another photo op. St. Catherine's Dock itself dates from the 12th century, when a refuge for travellers and the infirm, St. Catherine's Hospital, was set up by Queen Matilda, King Stephen's consort. By 1825, a new bill transferred ownership of the dock, and the hospital was destroyed along with many other buildings. New warehouses were constructed, and the dock thrived for decades. It was heavily bombed in World War II and officially closed in 1968. Regeneration started in 1973 with the building of a large hotel on the site, and that is why the majority of the buildings are modern. Once you have finished here and maybe had a cheeky drink, head back to the bridge that you crossed over in the lock, but turn left before crossing it so you're walking alongside of the water. Cross over the pedestrian bridge at the end and pause at the large sundial on the opposite side. Pause commentary until you reach there. This sundial, designed by Wendy Taylor in 1973, is a testament to man's first astronomical time instruments. I also happen to think it makes a nice prop in the foreground of photos of Tower Bridge. We are next making our way further along the river, where you will find the Girl with a Dolphin sculpture. Pause commentary until you reach there. This bronze sculpture was made by David Wynne in 1973. He studied zoology at Cambridge University and researched this piece by swimming with dolphins for hours. Another interesting photo op with the bridge, as well as in its own right. We are next heading to the base of the stairs in St. Catherine's Way that are to the left when looking at the archway under Tower Bridge. Pause commentary until you reach there. Please climb the stairs carefully and take your time. Once at the top, you will be on Tower Bridge itself. Cross over the bridge, making sure to pause and enjoy the views. If you wish to take photos from the other side, cross the bridge completely and come back up after using a pedestrian crossing. There is a Tower Bridge experience, which lasts approximately 45 minutes, taking in the towers, the raised walkway with the glass floors, and the engine rooms. I've sadly never been on it, so I can't give you my personal opinion, but if it takes your fancy, feel free to pause the commentary and indulge. The ticket office is at the base of the Northwest Tower, which you will pass. Once finished, or if you are carrying on without visiting, head over the bridge and take the stairs down, and turn left when you see the engine room and shop, passing under the bridge again. Pause commentary until you are just inside the archway. Here we have the third loop of today's tour, which is a recent discovery for me. Carry on under the archway, and soon to the right you will see the Courage Yard. Enter and make your way to the fountain in the centre. Pause commentary until you reach there. Not wishing to take away from the impressive sculptural work of the Nymphs by Anthony Donaldson, the thing that makes me smile the most about this fountain are the little items that look like they were left there by accident. These include a watch, notebook, camera, and cassette player, which shows the age of the piece being from 1991. Next, exit the yard the way you entered and turn right to view the charming road known as Shad Thames. The reason there are multiple walkways over the street is that these flats, that's apartments to our North American guests, are in converted warehouses, and they wanted to retain as many of the original features as they could. These walkways would have been used to transfer goods between the warehouses. The artists David Hockney and Derek Jarman lived on this street in the 1970s, prior to the area being redeveloped in the mid-1980s. When finished, return to the area under the arch that we started this loop section at. Everyone, please follow the next set of directions. Walk along the path by the river, heading west towards the large grey battleship dock there, making sure to take some photos of the Tower of London and Tower Bridge on the way. Pause commentary until you are just outside the ticket office for the ship. The HMS Belfast was launched in March 1938 and built for the Royal Navy. The ship is now permanently moored here to give the opportunity to experience life on a town-class light cruiser during World War II. Her primary role was to protect the Arctic convoys going to Russia during the war. She last saw service in the Normandy campaign in June 1944. Anyone with an interest in war or military history will most likely enjoy the ship, but be warned there are several steep ladders to navigate. Allow about an hour to take it all in. Pause commentary until you exit the ship and are back on land, or if not visiting, please continue to play the commentary until the next pause point. A very short way further down the path is Hayes Galleria. The shopping centre houses the Navigator's steampunk statue at its heart, which was created by David Kemp in 1987. The building was known as the Larder of London in the 1800s due to the vast amount of tea imports that went through it. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you continue straight ahead out to Tooley Street, the station that you see across the street in front of you, London Bridge, is the station we'll be finishing our tour at after Southwark Cathedral, the Golden Hind, Winchester Palace and Borough Market. If you have had enough walking for today, cross at this pedestrian crossing and follow the signs to London Bridge Underground Station to take the tube to the destination of your choice. That's the beauty of these tours. You are in control, and you can always come back to this spot to finish the tour another day. If I haven't defeated you yet, however, please go back out the way you came into the Hayes Galleria and turn left to follow the Queen's Walk along the river. Climb the staircase at the end, which will take you onto London Bridge, the real one. Turn left and you will pass one of the dragons that guard the entry into London. Though this one dates from the 1960s, they have been a feature since the 17th century. Keep walking towards the Southwark Needle, which is hard to miss, and turn left onto the road marked the A200 on the map. On the left you will find these rather unattractive stairs to take you down to Tooley Street, or you can walk a bit further up the road and take a sharp left to enter the street. Whichever you prefer, go under the bridge underpass, and soon on the left-hand side you will see an opening in front of Southwark Cathedral. Pause commentary until you are at the cathedral. Southwark Cathedral has been the site of Christian worship since at least 1106, when it was part of an Augustinian priory, but possibly was a nunnery before that. The building you see today was primarily built between 1220 and 1420 and is Gothic in design. The nave had to be reconstructed in the late 19th century, though. When you first enter the cathedral, turn left in the corridor and go out the doors at the end into a small courtyard. Stand towards the back and turn to face the doors that you just came out of. You should see a little carving of a face that looks slightly newer than the others up on the left. This is a tribute to the cathedral cat, Dorkin's Magnificat, who passed away in 2020. The cathedral now has a new cat named Hodge that you might be lucky enough to see. Make your way back into the corridor, and at the other end is the entrance to the main part of the church. I ask you to look out for the stained glass window depicting all of William Shakespeare's plays over the monument to him on the right-hand side of the cathedral, though he's actually buried in Stratford-upon-Avon. He did worship here when in London, though, and his brother Edmund is buried here. This is marked with a ledger stone in the choir area. Charles Dickens visited the cathedral in 1886 and set many scenes of his books in Southwark. John Harvard, the first benefactor of Harvard University in the United States, was baptized here, and there is a chapel named after him. You can go out to the grounds through the doors directly opposite where you entered the nave and make your way to the left. There is a little photo op with a statue of Shakespeare, but what I really want to draw your attention to is the moving memorial towards the back of the grounds to Mohammed Weinonen. Apologies for the pronunciation. It really gives a window into a part of history few discuss. If you are lucky, you may, as I did, come upon a rehearsal for one of the many concerts held at the cathedral. Lastly, there are credit card readers at the back of the nave requesting donations. I ask if you are able to do so, please consider making a contribution to the upkeep of this building, which is important both historically and spiritually. I would allow 30 to 45 minutes for your visit. Pause commentary until you have finished your tour of the cathedral and are back out in the square. You are next going to enter the square and turn left onto Montague Close. Follow it until you reach the fork in the road with Cathedral Street. Turn sharply right and make your way to the ship in front of you, the Golden Hind. Pause commentary until you reach there. The Golden Hind is a full-size reconstruction of the first English ship to circumnavigate the globe. It was captained by Sir Francis Drake, Elizabeth I's favourite pirate, and after departing in 1577, returned triumphant in 1580. If you would like to explore the ship, which takes about an hour, pause the commentary now. If not, turn with your back to the side of the ship so that you can see the road going through the opening between the surrounding buildings. This is Pickford's Wharf. Walk down the street a couple of dozen steps, and you will see the ruins of Winchester Palace. Pause commentary until you reach there. Winchester Palace was built in the early 13th century for the bishops of Winchester who were in charge of Southwark Cathedral. You can still get a sense of grandeur from the remains of the Great Hall and Rose Window. The grounds surrounding the palace included a prison, a brewhouse, a tennis court, and a bowling alley. The palace was used until the 17th century when it was divided up into warehouses and tenements. The ruins were rediscovered following a fire in 1814 and put on public display in the 1980s following the area's redevelopment. We are next going to make our way to Borough Market, and if you've made it this far, well done! Go back to the Golden Hide and turn right, following Cathedral Street, and this will take you to Borough Market, which is nothing short of a food lover's paradise. Make sure you take in both sides of the market. Have a good look around before buying anything is my top tip, but bear in mind it closes at 5 p.m, 4 p.m. on a Sunday, and is closed all day Monday. Pause commentary until you've either finished at the market or followed Cathedral Street, which turns into Bedale Street, until you reach Borough High Street at the end, marked the A3 on your map. If you haven't exited the market yet, please do so and make your way to the corner of Bedale Street and Borough High Street. Incidentally, that huge building in front of you is the Shard that I mentioned earlier. You will now see London Bridge Underground Station up the street on your right, down some steps in the pavement. Enter the station, taking the tube to the destination of your choice. London Bridge is on the Northern and Jubilee lines. This is the end of the City of London tour. I'm sure you're thoroughly sick of my voice by now, but I still hope that you will join me again on A Path Less Travelled UK soon.